Hello friends, it's Carla here for the Emerald Creek Craft Supplies blog and website, and today I've created a canvas here using some mixed media and new embossing powders that we're bringing out this year with the creativation going on, and releasing some new fun powders and gems. Now I'm just going to kind of walk you through how I'm creating this canvas. I've taken an art board which is from the Seven Gypsies Architectures line. It's almost like a very thick cardboard, and it takes sprays very nicely. It's nice and thick and sturdy. I'm spraying with it with several different Tattered Angels mists and then giving it a dry. I've got some Canvas Corp corrugated cardboard that I've just cut a piece off of the 12 by 12 sheet, and I'm tearing a little bit off the edge just to distress it, and then misting it again with those beautiful mists. And I love taking the cover off of mists and actually just tapping them on to give a splattering effect as well. It's a little more controlled and gives you those lovely splats of color. Then I've grabbed some mini distress inks, and I'm just inking around the edges to give a little bit more dimension there. And I love as well inking around, whether it's tags or canvases that I've sprayed on, and just adding a little ink around the edges as well, I find gives a really nice effect to the canvas. This Blueprint Sketch ink is one of my favorites. It's such a nice purpley blue and goes lovely with these colors. And now I've gotten out some Hello Bluebird stamps, and I thought these would be really nice to use with the new powders. That powder bag is from Emerald Creek, and I'm going over it so that my embossing powder only sticks to the area where I'm adding the Versamark sticky ink. So you can see that it sticks on very well. I want my stem to be a little bit longer, so I'm adding a little bit of Versamark ink with that pen there and just extending the stem. Now I'm just kind of placing some more leaves and adding, this is the lime powder, which is new from Seth Apter, and this is part of his Mediterranean kit with his baked velvet line. And if you haven't seen his embossing powders before, he had the baked textures from last year, and they did amazing, and they are absolutely beautiful powders. And this year he's come out with, I believe, 12 more that are just absolutely gorgeous. I'm lucky enough to get these powders to play with. That's why it doesn't have the finished label that you would normally get when you order it from the supplier or Emerald Creek, their shop, or Seth's shop. And this is the beautiful Rustic Indigo. It is a blue and purple powder, and it has white flecks in it, and as you melt it, it actually the white just spreads and looks absolutely amazing. So really gorgeous. So I'm just melting that, and we're going for a mixed media look, so it definitely doesn't have to be perfect. But I love the look of it. This Dusk Powder is another powder that's in the Mediterranean Kit line by Seth Apter, and it actually melts just like a velvet. It is in the baked velvet line. And you saw there the little bit of the powder actually blew away. I may not have had enough ink on it, but that's okay. We were able to just ink it over again, and you can see how beautiful that is layered twice. Now this next flower, we're still using the same Dusk Powder. It's a beautiful bluish green, and I've only used one layer, so you definitely can get different layers of color just by putting more powder on. And now I'm using the third color in the Mediterranean kit line, the Aegean Sea, and I'm layering that over top of the Dusk Powder. So very, very beautiful. They all blend so lovely together, and I just love the look of this. I know his powders are so popular, and so many people do just incredible things with them. So I'm just using some tacky glue to glue on that corrugated cardboard, and then I had a die cut from my stash, and I'm using my Tattered Angels mists just to go over that. And I'm kind of coordinating the colors, keeping with the blues and greens, and I got out my Distress Resist and realized my sprayer was a little bit clogged, so I just grabbed an old paintbrush and added some splatters. And then I'm going to add the embossing powder directly on that, and it just sticks to where the Distress Resist was added. And this powder here is Gwen Lafleur's new powder. It's called Lapis Lazuli, and it's meant to look like the stone. That's a beautiful blue color. I love just adding little bits of this to this bird cage. It just makes it look so rustic, and you can see how it bubbles with that Distress Resist underneath. So it looks very cool, gives it kind of a metallic-y vintage look. And now I'm using this powder again and some little bird wood veneer pieces, and just by adding the Versamark ink onto one side and then dipping it into the powder sticks on it, and you can see it just melts to a lovely finish. I ended up putting 3 layers of the powder on, and I'm just using some older scissors that have I can't use much for anything anymore, and I'm using them to hold it. Well, you can see the beautiful gold in that Lapis Lazuli powder. It's so gorgeous. Now the other bird that I'm going to put on the canvas, I am now using the gorgeous Dusk Powder again. That is that lovely blue with a green tone. This would be wonderful for embellishing metal as well. It really gives a lovely texture, and I'm just adding a little bit of that Lapis Lazuli, just sprinkling it on and melting it. And you can see how it just all blends in together really, really nicely. Now I'm melting some powder on this beautiful butterfly, and just putting a couple layers on. And I think don't be afraid to mix these powders. They really work well together. You can add layers of one and add another layer of another one, and it melts so lovely. So just by melting this gorgeous powder and then adding a little bit of the Rustic Indigo, which is another one of Seth's powders again, and melting that together, you can see how it just all blends. And then I've decided I want to stamp on the top of that butterfly. So I added the Versamark ink to the stamp just so it doesn't stick to the embossing powder. I'm getting the butterfly all melted with whatever powders I want to add together to it, and you can see the powders just melt and get very liquid, and then right away I put in part of the stamp. So I wanted a little bit of the stamp that had writing on it. So you can see what a lovely impression that gives. Those powders all together, like the blues and the greens, they just look beautiful. And then I have a little gold marker from scrapbook.com, and I've just edged the edge of the wood veneers with that to finish it off nicely. Now I'm taking some Distress ink in pink, and just adding a little bit of those stamps. And again, even though this is a Christmas stamp, I'm using parts of it that aren't Christmassy, but just add some background interest to the canvas itself. I'm adding a little bit of Distress ink around the edges, again, just to add a little more dimension. And then I had this fun little Believe die cut sticker. It's foam and it's very sparkly. It was in one of my Scrapbook and Cards Today sampler kits. So I just added a little bit of Distress ink to color it in so it wasn't stark white. And doing the same thing with these feather die cuts that I had in my stash, just to bring some pink into the canvas, and adding a little bit of that gray for some color there. So just adding the feathers, tucking them into this bird cage. I think it might be a Tim Holtz maybe die cut. I've had it for a while in my die cut drawer. And then I'm gluing that directly on to that corrugated cardboard. And I'm using some Ranger matte medium to glue on the wood veneer pieces. I've got these beautiful stones from Gwen Lafleur, and the African amethyst and the amber crystals. So these are the African amethyst, which are beautiful blue, and I'm gluing those directly onto the canvas with that matte medium. And then I'm just taking the crystals and doing the same thing. So it just gives a little bit of dimension to what you're working on, and some shine, some bling, just beautiful. So just by kind of layering those on there, you can see how everything came together. I really am happy with how those look. I have swatched out all these new powders that I'm trying. Both Gwen and Seth have lots of new things coming out, and these are just the ones that I have been so happy to try today. So I've swatched those out, and I'll link that video below so you can see exactly how those powders look. And thanks so much for stopping by. I'll link the blog and the website below, and hope you're having a great day.